So we are jumping now into a PvT. This is going to be Sero versus Unco. I'm not
I'm
entirely
not sure
sure.
how he pronounces it. If he's watching the stream, please let us know. I'm just gonna call him Unco for now, but
Alright,
certainly let us know if we're mispronouncing that. Okay,
yes.
score is up, ready to go.
Alright, let's jump into the first game, which will be on Circuit Breakers. Pretty standard map. This is, I guess, basically the second most standard, most common map you're going to see after Fighting Spirits.
Yeah, and this is the first map of our preseason tourney, so all of you guys who haven't played your games yet, if you got a PvT, take notes. This is the first unofficial coaching from our resident coaches here. Unco and Sero are not going to be on the same team this season, so this is for not as much within team bragging rights, but you know, across team bragging rights. My coach can beat your coach.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, so in the bottom left we have our red Protoss player, Unco.
And on the top left we have the white Terran Sero.
Now, don't know too much about either of these players. I've seen some games from Sero in the foreign community. I don't think I've ever seen Unco play though, so I'll be interested to see how this game goes.
Yeah, Unco is a little bit unknown for me as well. You know, I've seen him around a little bit, but I haven't really seen his games. And like you say, I mean, Zero's been around, you know, since I came back to Brood War a couple years ago. Just always see him being active. So he's been playing for sure. Gonna have to see. Unco's got the span game going down, 460 APM off the bat. So if there's any indication at all, we know who's gonna win, but we also know that that is not a great indicator.
That's true. I have actually been told that Zero has almost a different style of TVP. He doesn't necessarily approach this in what would be considered a standard way. We'll have to see how he plays it then. I've heard he likes to go bio sometimes in this matchup. We'll have to see if he brings that out or what.
I think it's actually, it's more typical, at least in the foreign scene, for Terrans to be willing to bio. You'll see it every so often in Korea, but it's just those guys have their builds so well dialed that the Protoss is going to be able to deal with that rush. The foreigner world, things are a little bit less tight, so you can get away with things that are a little bit less meta, and I think you'll see it more often. So Sero's not the only Terran I know who likes to do that, but you know, it's certainly not the only thing that he does. We may see it once this best of 3, we may see it multiple times, hard to say. But that's one of the beauties of Brood War, is that there's not one right way to play it, and you can attain a pretty high level with any style.
Yeah, that's true, as long as you know what your style is trying to achieve or what you want to achieve with your style. Like, some players like to say play more defensive style, you know, build up a big army and then just move out on the map, while some players are more like unit focused. They get those units like Reavers or DTs or something and micro them really well and just get a lot of damage done that way and win through their micro and unit control.
Unco actually going to get an SCV kill with the probe, and we know how strong SCVs are, so that's pretty good. Marine is out now, so this probe's fate is sealed, and it's just going to go around getting as much scouting as it can before it's hunted down. Maybe try to get another SCV kill, although that is unlikely.
Yeah, Marine coming up now, going to start hitting that the probe managed to sneak through. And he's going to actually get out.
Sero actually only made a single Marine, so really good probe control out from Unco. You know, just getting a free worker kill and then getting out scot-free. I mean, that's what more could you ask for? Full scout as well. Knows exactly when that gas was taken, or rather not taken from his last scout. So Unco has all the info he needs.
Yeah, and we do see, you know, it's a Rax expand here coming out of Sero, so he is going to go for some economy build here, get his macro rolling. We'll see how Unco wants to play or follow up with this. Don't see any additional tech or a base star just yet, so it looks like he's probably going to take a Nexus around 28.
He just started a proxy pylon by the mineral. So this is... He knows that it's a Rax expand. This very possibly is that proxy robo and just crawling the Reaver towards the bunker, which we've seen a couple of times in the Korean scene, and then it's becoming more and more popular. If this isn't scouted out, Zero is definitely in trouble.
Yeah, we saw, I believe it was on Gladiator, we saw Snow do this to last, and he just straight up won the game with this. It's something you can do. It's really hard for the Terran to deal with it, even if it is scouted, because they just have no units or nothing to go really deal with it. And you deny the scouting by having these Dragoons just fire on the bunker sitting outside the Terran Natural here.
Yeah, and actually, Sero's going to go for two facts behind this. So I feel like in order to afford this, that means that first fact was a little bit late. I actually wasn't paying too much attention. But if that tank is delayed at all versus this kind of a build, you're going to be in even more trouble. So that bunker, is going to be very hard to keep up unless you have a siege tank guarding against that Reaver. And there's almost no way that he's going to have that timing.
Yeah. Sero did happen to get an SCV not quite up the ramp, but he got it far enough to see that there was no Nexus started for Unco. So he should expect that there's some kind of tech play coming out. Could be either like a DT rush or a Reaver drop, something like that. He doesn't necessarily know that it's just going to be a crawling Reaver from this proxy robo. We'll have to see if he's prepared or not.
Yeah, and his response is to get that engineering bay, which deals with both of DT and a shuttle Reaver quite well. It, however, does not deal with what Unco is doing here. We do have the robotic support bay just finishing up in the main, so that Reaver is going to be produced fairly soon here. 4 goons whittling away on this bunker, so Sero is forced to repair that pretty heavily here, and the tank is just now like a halfway produced. Siege isn't even there, so this Reaver is going to be out fairly soon here. And it's going to be crawling his way towards an unsieged tank very shortly.
Yeah, and if he busts that bunker and gets on top of those tanks, it's not going to be a lot that Sero can do here. Even just having these Dragoons here hammering away at the bunker is nice. I mean, that's getting extra damage, forcing Sero to repair and spend that money. First tank is out now. Oh, he almost lost that bunker there as well. It was very close.
Yep, tank is taking his pot shots. Sero is being very careful to keep controlling it carefully because this is 5 goons. They can just hop on that tank immediately. Looks like I was wrong. The timing is going to work out for Sero. He will have a siege tank, but with 5 goons and a Reaver, this is still a breakable position. I don't like how Unco is actually tanking these shots. This is sort of the move you would do when you want to just get as many seconds of repair on that bunker as possible. But when you're about to bust, you really want the shields available. Just the Reaver now.
Oh. And those tanks actually can't hit the Reaver, so he is going to lose this bunker. And Unco could just pounce on these tanks and take them out potentially and put Sero in a really bad spot.
Yeah, good targeting out from Sero. He's actually targeting the siege tanks onto that Reaver. But the Reaver is actually going to kill all of the Marines. SCVs being pulled out to fight, but SCVs do not do very well against Reavers. And a third siege tank sieged on the high ground doesn't look like that is going to be enough. And there is still way too much here for Sero to deal with. They are right on top of production. I think that might be game.
Yeah, he does have a shuttle out now, so he's going to be able to pick up that Reaver, fly it around, just avoid getting shots from any other units that come out. And Sero's just losing way too many SCVs and taking way too much damage here.
Yep,
and
there is the GG. Well executed rush out from Unco. Sero did a good job in almost holding, but there is just nothing left for him to do there. That is the first game of the series.
All right, so Unco takes game number 1.
Yeah, that is a very, very strong build if it's not scouted out. That Rax FE is really trying to just eke by with as little defense as possible, and you can certainly take advantage of that. If you're not prepared for that and it just shows up at your front door, there's not much you can do.
Mm-hmm. All right, so map number 2 is going to be Fighting Spirit, the most standard map you'll see, the one that everyone knows and everyone plays. This was Sero's choice, so I mean everyone's comfortable on this map. He's played it so many times. Interested to see what he brings out here. I don't think we'll see him die to that Reaver again, like we saw in game 1.
Yeah, at the very least, you would expect him to check for that. Fighting Spirit's a lot harder to pull that proxy off as well. You certainly can't go across the bridge and build it. They'll likely have vision there. And then if it's behind the bridge, it's a much longer rush distance. So I think it's less likely, but certainly possible. Again, it's game theory. If it's not likely, does that make it more likely?
We'll have to see how each player decides to play that. So spawning in the top right, we have our white Protoss Unco.
And on the bottom left, Fighting Spirit, the blue Terran Sero. So cross position as well means that any sort of really aggressive rush from Protoss is going to be slightly less effective. And I think we will see a macro game out of these two. But you never know.
Yeah, that goes both ways. Any rush from Terran is not going to be quite as effective. It just gives Protoss a little bit more time. I tend to favor these cross positions. It fits my style pretty well in PvT. Like, as Sham2 would know, I like to take a lot of bases and expand all over the place. And just by doing this, I can take bases in the top left and the top right, and it really makes it hard for Terran to push both of those at the same time. They can only really push one. So even if he kills one side of them, you still have the other side that's completely fine, untouched, and you're just getting minerals, getting your bases, getting your gateways up in a strong macro game. It makes it really hard for Terran in these positions, I find.
No, it's a great strategy for sure. And you know, a lot of Terrans that are going to opt for that macro style are going to just try to secure their easy 3 bases on this map, and that gives Protoss plenty of time to take both corners and get them established. So definitely an option here that we might be seeing. Low ground barracks out from Sero, so it's looking like another Rax expand.
Yeah, and for those of you who may not know, the reason you want to build this barracks here on the low ground is to kind of help block and buy yourself time from the Dragoons, so the Dragoons don't just run by up into your main. You kind of block, build the bunker. It doesn't really give the Dragoons any opportunity to get past, and then just repair the bunker until your tanks are out.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Also, you have to produce Marines since they're the only fighting unit you're going to have. So if you were going to produce this barracks at the high ground and try to produce Marines and then use it for the wall, that whole time it's floating down to become a wall, it's not making Marines. And so that you really need to put it in place right away if you're going to be using it as a wall and a unit producing structure.
That's very true. So looks like Sero went through the middle first to make sure there was no proxy gates or anything going on from Protoss. Didn't see anything, started to go to the top left and saw the probe coming down from there, so he knew he wasn't top left, so he sent the SCV immediately to the cross position or top right, whereas Unco actually saw that SCV as well, but instead of continuing on to bottom left, he's actually going to the other close position to himself and not scouting Sero.
Yeah, so Unco played himself there. Sero making really good adjustments based on what he's seen. Scouting middle after a Protoss does that first game build to you is definitely a good move. You never know if they're going to be aggressive again, so proxy gates can definitely ruin your day in a Rax expand situation here.
So far it looks like both players playing pretty similarly to last game. You know, Terran getting up the Rax FE, Protoss going for the one gate, getting Dragoon range, starting to make his Dragoons. Nothing too out of the ordinary.
This Unco probe is brave, man, and just walked
Ooh.
right past 2 Marines, manages to slip through and see the gas timing. There is a canceled building here. I actually don't know what that was.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm not sure what that was either. Sero does pick off the probe, but I've been impressed with his probe control here. He managed to kill SCV the first game, got it past these ones here, got it out in the first game as well. Not
Yeah,
bad.
no, really getting as much value as possible out of that early probe. You know, that is the mark of a good player for sure. You know, there's a lot of pro gamers who are kind of like known by their probe control, like Bisu.
Yes.
So it's really cool to see. I know, like when I play a ladder game and I'm up against a player and I see their worker control, I'm like, oh no, like, this guy's actually good.
Yep, that's a good way to tell early on in ladder. It's like, okay, if they're microing their worker really well, are they a good player? But on the other side, are they just microing their worker well and not doing anything at home?
That's very true. Yep. So this looks like an identical build from Sero. Both factories coming down around the same timing, and so this is you know, he's not facing that same rush, and I think he'll be able to hold no problem with this. And then the follow-up from him could be pretty strong. I'm not sure what Unco's going to do now that he's playing, you know, faster expansion style, and this is just going to be a completely different game from game 1.
Yeah, so Unco did take his natural nexus faster than we saw in game 1, and it looks like he's gearing up his probe to take his third. This is a pretty standard response to seeing a Terran go Rax FE. If you can't, you know you can't punish it. There's nothing you can do. You just usually just go and take a third nexus and get your economy up there as well. When you do this, one thing you do have to be worried about is it opens you up to a potential push, mid-game push from Terran. They can build up to, say, like 4 factories and come across the map and just kill or deny your third. I'm sure both of these players are aware of that, especially in the Protoss position. Having played against it a number of times, I'm sure. And I don't expect him to die to that, but you never know.
Yeah, and the fact that it is cross position means that, you know, at that timing it's going to be slightly weaker. Just extra defensive advantage all around the board. So I like how Unco is really reading this game well, getting his max damage on this bunker. But once that tank is out, he will be forced to retreat, and then we'll really get to see what the game plan of these players is. You know, is Sero going to go for that faster third? Is he going to go for that push? And is Unco going to go for faster tech here, or just go, you know, muscle Protoss with a lot of gateway units?
He is actually throwing down a second gateway now. I believe that's a little bit later than you want to get it, although this was a 21 next opening, so it could be alright. Siege mode just finishes up now. He's going to siege up that tank and start firing on these goons, and they're going to just have to back up.
Yep, and Unco was definitely anticipating that, not even sending his last few goons down to deal with that bunker, realizing that he's just not going to get anything done there. So now we have a couple vultures coming out as well for Sero, and he is upgrading speed. So it looks like he's going to try to be active on the map with some vultures, which I really like. Right now, Unco's defense isn't quite tight for vultures. He's certainly going to have a lot more goons by the time that speed is done and those vultures are out, but he does have 3 places to defend. And if those vultures can get a good run by in a good position, they can kill probes so quickly.
Yeah. One thing I do like that he's doing is he's starting to build a wall up here. Like you can see at the third base, he's put down all these pylons here. That's really good. What you want to do as Protoss, it just stops the vultures from running up this ramp and just murdering all your probes, because vultures kill probes so fast. 2 shots, probe's dead. And that's one way that a Protoss can just lose pretty early to Terran. So you want to make sure you're safe from any kind of vulture run by or vulture play. Having these Dragoons positioned out here for any vultures that are going to try and stick into his natural is really good, as well as the pylon wall that he has here at his third base.
Yep, so he's definitely aware that this is a possibility. And it looks like Sero is unsieging, so he is going to be going for that 2-fact timing push. And Unco is going to have the goons at the natural, or the bridge of Sero's natural, to scout this out. So he should get his goons all together now and just try to control them as best he can, getting some good shots on the Marines, but trading some tank shots as well.
Yeah, having seen this coming, he should be able to hold it off, but this is a pretty strong push coming out from Sero. Protoss doesn't quite have his macro in full swing yet from that third base, though he is throwing down some more gateways now. And getting a shuttle, actually looks like he skipped observers completely.
Yeah,
You're going to have to be a little careful about mines.
Very good timing out from Sero and really good control, keeping all of those tanks perfectly safe. Unco was trying to go for a snipe there, but he just pulled it back. And doing he's not getting greedy here. He's doing a fairly far back siege and just making sure that he really has his position under control. This is a great distance actually, because Unco can't even go across this bridge without taking those first few shots. But it's not so close to the bridge that he's at risk of getting surrounded.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Unco decides to do about this. He is just now getting the observatory, so he'll be able to finally see those mines. He can't really push out here at this point, so this is a pretty scary position for the Protoss. I mean, he can't really break this position with all these mines and vultures out here buffering for tanks. And, okay.
Ooh, that mine did a lot of damage to those zealots there. That was rough. Right before you're about to break, there's a small timing when there's absolutely no turrets, only a single Marine to chase away the shuttle, and you just want as many zealots as possible. So
that's what you want to try and do.
Yeah, that's super
with the shuttle. If you can drop some of those shuttles on those tanks and make them take some friendly fire, or if you can get some on mines that are near the units and blow up a bunch of Terran units, that's really what you want to do. But the longer this goes on, if Unco can't break this and Sero keeps reinforcing this position, it's going to be tougher and harder to break.
Yeah, and eventually, Sero is going to push forward and actually get in range of that Nexus. You can see he's actually clearing some of the mines that he had already laid so that he can get tanks in a position and not sit on top of his own mines. So really, really strong, methodical pushing here from Sero, forcing Unco farther and farther back. Unco's going to push forward now, but another mine hit. Oh my god, it did so much damage. So that's 2 absolutely key mines that are just really keeping Unco pinned back all the way in his base.
And a couple of these tanks starting to fire down on that first pylon there. He'll be able to keep moving forward, and soon he'll be moving that Nexus. He's just like taking the back tanks, moving them in front, just slowly and methodically pushing Unco further and further back, and Unco's just trying to buy time and get in enough units to crush this push.
Yep, so all you Terran players, this is how you push. I know that's a really, really tough position for Terrans to get to, but once you do, I've seen a lot of Terrans lose it by getting, trigger happy and just running forward. This is a really, really methodical and safe way to do this, and Unco really doesn't have a great answer. He does have these 2 gates that he's built down the bottom right, so I think he's hoping to get a surround going by just having those gates out of his base, but there's almost no time to get that army going.
Oh, we actually have the little glitch here with the observer on top of the turret not firing. Kind of cool.
Oh, yep. That turret is freaking out, so it will not be able to stop the shuttle if it decides to come in, but there is another turret down here. Actually, two more turrets down here, so the shuttle will still probably go down. But at this point, I mean, Unco has to take a move very quickly. Probes are dying,
Yes.
the Nexus is getting sieged down, and he's been bleeding units. Like, I really don't think he's going to have enough when it comes to it.
Yeah, now that this Nexus is under fire by a couple of these tanks, Unco really has to do something or he's going to lose this Nexus. He is taking another Nexus at the bottom, but we can see Sero has gone ahead and taken his third base behind this as well, and has produced up to 5 factories, and
Yeah.
getting up a lot of his tech.
I think this Nexus on the bottom is a little ambitious, but certainly if he can push out, having that building will be great. Another mine coming in, doing some damage to the Zealots, and really just, Unco does not have an answer for this push. It's been under Sero's control since he got over here. Oop, too many things. There we go. So the Nexus does go down, and you know, he managed to save some of his probes there, but he's just been bleeding units, and he's not going to be able to get any units out except for these gates. DTs are now out, and they're actually going to get onto the SCV line, but scans should be available.
It's a pretty nice move from him. He forced a pull from the natural. There's no SCVs mining there, and he's killing a few SCVs. He's got 11 kills on the 2 in the main.
Yeah, this is definitely doing some damage. It's going to get him back into the game somewhat, but you know, he still can't get units out of his main. He's still hard contained there. So once these DTs are cleaned up, with just a few scans, honestly, he's getting way more value than he should. But now that the units are here, all the DTs will be going down shortly. They've done plenty of damage, but this is still a 3-base Terran.
There's still one DT hammering away in the main with 10 kills there. And now that one goes down as well. So Unco's trying to set up these bases, get some gates, and maybe try and flank this Terran army. But we can see Sero's build off like a complete wall. He's not going to be able to do anything with his units that are pinned up in the main here against that wall. He is building an Arbiter. I don't know what tech he's opting to go for here. I don't see anything upgrading from the Arbiter Tribunal at the moment. But this is a really tough position for Protoss at the moment.
Yeah, definitely tough. The fact that he got that probe out and started building buildings down the bottom right is really the only saving grace. That's the only reason these DTs got here. He's starting to mine from it, but again, that's ambitious. You know, once Sero sets his sights on this, it's just going to die. This is completely indefensible. So he's hoping to sneak these bases, and I really don't think Sero's going to let him get away with that.
Yeah, like you said, as soon as this is scouted, Sero can just send over a few units and just deny and kill these. And if that does happen, I would expect to see Unco just tap out there. But as it is, if he can keep those bases and get the macro rolling down there, he can definitely find a way back into this game.
Yeah, and Sero is now methodically pushing down the bottom right position. There's only 2 goons and a cannon here to defend, and actually both goons have gone down pretty easily to mines and tanks. So at this point, it's just probes and 1 cannon, and that doesn't do very well against 3 siege tanks.
No, he doesn't actually have vision of it right now. He has to scan, to fire away. But this is again putting a timer on this base where Unco has to do something, or he's just gonna be in trouble.
He's persisting with the DTs.
Yeah, trying to find some damage. I mean, what else? He's trying to find damage wherever he can. He's got that Arbiter out. He was trying to kill maybe those depots using the Arbiter cloak, but the turrets, Sero playing really well with the turrets there. He's got a vessel there, so he's not gonna be able to do anything with that. Unco's starting to run out of options here.
Yeah, I mean, persisting with the DTs, you know, they keep getting damaged, so it's definitely worth it. He's forcing out a lot of scans, which is helping to keep his bases, you know, under control and hidden. It's keeping this 3 o'clock base alive, since Sero has to keep using scans to actually get the shots off. So I like the play. You know, when you're playing from behind, you have to do stuff like this, and it's actually pretty well thought out. But he's still got a long way to go to really get back into a good position. Even though his supply is decent, if we look, he's at 158 to 123. All the supply that's up here is basically useless until it can get recalled out. And Sero knows that. So actually coming in with a Science Pistol, I thought he was going to go for the EMP there. It looks like he wants it. There it is.
And he is going to get it.
Yeah, so those units are just really pretty useless. You know, the supply is very misleading in this situation. The 3 o'clock base goes down, and at this point, you know, the main is almost mined out. Unco's only mining off of the probes that he managed to sneak out, which is actually a fair number on the bottom right.
Yeah, he does actually have a decent number of units here banking up at the bottom base now, his bottom right. He's going to drop a few zealots over here at the 9 o'clock base, just get whatever little damage he can do. And he could almost run these units into Sero's natural and start doing some damage there as well.
Yeah, 3 zealots are certainly pretty annoying. Vultures will clean this up very quickly though. And, you know, I like how Unco's playing this, but he's still in such a bad position. I really don't know what he can do. I mean, these probes are actually still long distance mining. They haven't fully abandoned this nexus. And so if anything, that's going to tell Sero exactly what's going on down in the bottom right, if he doesn't already know about it.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if he doesn't know about it, but I also think if he did know about it, he would just walk over and kill it. But Unco has about 2 control groups of units down here now. You could definitely try and do something with them, because Sero doesn't have a lot at home. Like, he could walk in and possibly even kill the natural here.
Yeah, he's definitely letting him back into this game. You know, he's committed so much here to this front wall. Now that there's a second Arbiter out, it can certainly get a recall off unless it gets a really, really money EMP. I don't see one waiting at Sero's natural, so likely if Unco does try to get that second Arbiter to recall, he will get those units in his main into the fight, and combined with the units on the bottom right, all of a sudden Sero might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, so Unco, meanwhile, is taking another Nexus here at the 6 o'clock, really close to the Terran's base. Terran is pushing out and moving across. Looks like he does definitely know about these bottom right bases now. If he can kill off this army, then there's nothing Unco's going to be able to do.
Yeah, miscontroller from Sero actually losing the Science Vessel right away. And I don't know how many scans he has left since he was using so many of them to deal with the DT harass and then later to deal with 3 o'clock. So, you know, the Science Vessels are even bigger deal than normal. But he does have another one here with energy. It can certainly get that EMP off. Arbiter splitting off from the main force now, so it looks like the recall is imminent. But meanwhile, Sero has been expanding to the top left. So if he can deal with this recall, you know, there's not much left for Unco there. Even though this is a maxed out Protoss, but it still feels like he's losing pretty heavily.
Yeah, I agree. He just got so much supply locked up into his main still. And, like, look at all the probes just sitting there, too. Like, all that supply in his main that not able to do anything. Because if he tries to break out of his base, he's just going to lose all those zealots for a terrible trade. Like, kill a couple buildings and a couple units.
Yeah, we have the Arbiter coming into the top left position here. There's a half-built command center, so I don't know if he's going to recall it, but that certainly scouts out that this Arbiter is on the way. I don't know if Sero noticed that, but if he did, he needs to get stuff ready right away. A recall is what's going to end this game. It looks like there's actually a bottom Arbiter as well. So with that double threat, you know, Sero's investing his units into the 9 o'clock position. That Arbiter goes down without a recall, but the one in the main is going to come in right on top of the factories.
Decent recall, Zealot. It's just all Zealot though.
Oh, it's probably the Zealots from the main.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I can understand that. You got to get those units out of there, but a pure Zealot recall is not that strong compared to Zealot Goon. And at the same time that this recall is happening, there is another attack here at the 9 o'clock, but Sero is still defended there. This really isn't going to do too much damage.
He is sending some Dragoons up there into the top left now. He's going to be able to deny this 4th command center Sero is taking. Take that out, but I don't think he has a lot left after these attacks.
Yeah, no, that's a great move to shut that down. Certainly if Sero can get that location locked up, then there's really almost no hope at all. This kind of keeps him in the game, but he is still so far behind, just, you know, he still can't get units out. He's finally busting out the main, but units are coming to reinforce, so Sero will not lose this position at all. And once these Zealots go down, you know, Sero has his options about what base he pushes. Basically anything he points his army at can die.
Yeah, I would expect to see him just go and take out the mining bases of Protoss here after this. He is actually going to reinforce this position and make sure that Unco can't continue getting units out of this base. Another EAMP going off on that Arbiter, which is nice little pickup.
Yeah, really active with the Science Vessel EMPs. That's great to see. And, you know, Unco's got all of these gateways up in the upper right, and they really haven't been useful all game. I love how these probes are still long distance mining at 3 o'clock.
It's like, oh, we'll take those minerals. We'll take these minerals. No problem. But now Sero's got a big army together, and he's starting to push out. Unco's got a few units getting trapped out here. This is not a good trade for him. He does pick off the Science Vessel, which is nice. But he's going to lose most of these goons. I don't know if that was really worth it. He does have a couple of High Templar. Looks like they will have Storms available. Oh, but Sero managing to pick them off.
Yeah, runs forward with the Vultures. You know, the Science Vessel pickoffs are nice, especially when you have a good Arbiter fleet, but there's only a single Arbiter here. Uses a pretty good stasis on 4 tanks, but by this point, since he's lost so many goons, just trying to stop this push from getting to this bridge, there's not much left. And so now he's basically double contained. I mean, this army is going to march all the way up to his ramp, and there's not much he can do about it. And so both locations that he has gateways are going to be just really inefficient to get any units out of. Trying to push out of the main once again, but there's really nothing for it. I mean, that wall is rebuilt. There's 4 tanks here. Good storm, but even if he pulls out of here, his bottom right bases are essentially forfeit, so that's not the best trade.
Yeah, and losing this bottom base, I don't think there's anything left for Unco. He made a yeah, there he goes. Types to the GG now. He made a game out of it. Like I thought he was going to be dead quite a long time ago, but he managed to get back into that game and fight. But he was just too far behind, and Sero takes it down.
Yeah, totally agree. Really impressed with how he played from behind there. Most Protoss would have died a long time ago, but really just getting that one probe out, able to play in a really kind of interesting secret refugee Protoss style, with the DT harass and just getting an entire bottom right base up before Zero was able to do anything about it. I like that game a lot.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and that also gives us a game 3.
Which is even better.
Yes. All right. Looks like game 3 is also going to be on Sylphid. So both players opting to play, both matchups playing on this map.
Yeah, it's an interesting map. I've been playing it a little bit.
Sup, Pete?
Got Pete, yeah, giving us the kudos. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's a really interesting map. Just a lot of bases. Really kind of odd in terms of just how much is in such a small area to expand to. So, really cool to see. That macro style game. I think this really favors macro style player, and I want to see what happens in this PvT game 3.
Let's get it started. One thing I've talked to a few of the other CPL players about is they seem to think this would be more of a Terran favored map, just because of the shorter rush distances. Like the tanks can get up into your base really quickly and just siege up. So I'm a little surprised Unco chose this with that in mind, but maybe he has something planned for it. Maybe he'll do some sort of proxy. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? And especially since this is such a new map to the scene, it's fairly new in the ASL period, and then a lot of these players really haven't touched it until we announced our map pack, which was very recent. So it's very possible that he's just got something planned out and hoping that, Sero isn't ready for it, which is very likely the case. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, all right. So on the left side of the map here, we have our brown Protoss Unco.
And on the bottom right, we have the teal Terran, Sero.
All right.
Guys played fantastic games. Game 1 was a little short, but, really well planned out game plan from Unco and really well executed. And then Sero in game 2, just really clinical pushing, and Unco, making a fight every step of the way. But just a strong showing for both of these guys. I really like this matchup.
Yeah, I was surprised how well Unco did that game. Like he had some opportunities to maybe counter the natural. I think a few people in the chat are saying like he could have done that and maybe won the game, but he in the position he was in, he made a game of that for sure. Like losing the natural so early and for that push, it was an interesting game. I liked it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always tough to say, because you don't have the total information, and you definitely can't just invest your Protoss army. If you end up making a bad call and losing it, then that's the game right there. So from here in the observer seat, it's very easy to make the calls, but as the player with limited information, it's tough.
All right, so what do we have going on here? It looks like standard so far from Unco. Nothing like a fast nexus, which I would not expect to see here anyway. The probe scout going out, going to scout Sero the wrong direction. Scout Sero last. It is a 3-player map, but it looks like Sero is going to scout Unco first and just kind of confirm, what's going on. Everything's looking standard. No one's trying to do anything, abnormal here.
Yeah, so Sero, this is the first time we're seeing him go for a faster gas. He is not going to Rax FE on this map here, so we have that factory up really quickly. And I'm not really sure if how Unco plays against this, since both games Sero has done the Rax FE rather than this.
Yeah. Nice little change up. He's just going to back that probe up, seeing the Marine there. I like this call by Sero, knowing that this is a shorter rush distance. If he did go for the Rax FE, the Dragoons could get to his base to start hammering at it quicker. Or if he opens with something a little bit more aggressive, I don't know what he's going to do exactly, but if he's doing something a little more aggressive, the shorter rush distance might be able to punish Unco a little bit harder. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
We do have one SCV left on gas, which suggests there might be some sort of an FD push. He's still making Marines as well, so likely going to happen here. And the short rush distance might play into this. We have range started for Unco. Looks like the first Zealot is on his way, but there's already 3 Marines here, 4th on the way. I don't think the Zealot's really going to get anything done.
Yeah, so because Sero's continue to make Marines past 3, I expect to see some kind of FD push. Normally, if you're going to go for something like a siege expand, you won't make any more than 3 Marines, or sometimes you'll just stay on 2 or 1. Looks like he handles the Zealot fairly easily.
Yeah, pretty nice micro out from Sero. You know, Unco's gonna get the scout off, so he knows what's coming, but you know, that wasn't nearly enough damage. Got a couple of hits off on. There's like 1 wounded Marine and 1 dead Marine, and I guess 2 wounded Marines. But for a probe and a zealot, not really worth. And the first goon is out here, gonna see what he can get done, but that tank is coming.
Yeah, so it's like we said, it looks like this is going to be some kind of an FD push coming out of Sero. He's got the mines upgrading. So once this tank's done, I'll expect to see him to start pushing out, with the Vulture rally coming in behind, trying to lay some mines, maybe pick off a couple of Dragoons with mines. And if you can get a couple of mines hits on the Dragoons, that's really painful for Protoss and can set them back and can sometimes even just win you the game. So.
Yeah, there's not nearly enough goons out. I mean, those 6 Marines alone are pretty scary to deal with not to mention the tank. And actually, the SCV scout is going to come in and try to body block, actually getting it off. Really good control out from Sero. Unco forces
nice little moves there, yeah.
Yeah, that is fantastic micro. So actually, sending 2 goons here. Oh, the tank is going to split off on the Marines. This is a big mistake.
That's not what you want to see. Oh, so he is going to lose that tank, and losing that first tank with this push kind of stops it. Like, he's not going to be able to do anything really to Unco, unless he gets a couple of really good mine hits with this Vulture.
Yeah, not only does that happen, but now the Marines have been basically cut off from their home base. So he's just going to fight and just as much damage as he can with the Marines before they go down. But the Vulture is going around, so both players showing a little bit of an experience on the map. Letting sort of pathing issues sort of get in their way of control, and then now letting these Vultures into Unco's main base. This is a lot of damage happening that really shouldn't be. Oh, actually, the probes of Unco are so strong. I mean, they killed a Marine in the early Zealot push. They're killing a Vulture now, just absolutely incredible. He's got some very scary workers.
Oh, and losing a Dragoon to the mines, that's never what you want to see, unfortunately. But he knows he's got to bring those Dragoons back to maybe help. Right now, we have Sero just mining out outside of Unco's base. And because Unco doesn't even have obs out yet, this is going to be pretty hard for him to actually get out and expand himself or get out on the map at all. But meanwhile, behind this, we do have Sero getting his command center up, so he's going to have a little bit of an economic advantage going into the mid-game here.
Yeah, so that whole series of events was like an emotional roller coaster, because Zero's playing like really good control with his SCV, and then all of a sudden the pathing splits his forces and he just loses the tank. But he's still got a ton of damage in with the mines, and like you said, you know, Zero's safely expanded here. He's got mines to defend. He's got his tank back, so he's plenty safe against what Unco has. And the first obs is just coming out soon. There's really not a lot that Unco can do. He has managed to clear out his way to his natural, so he'll be expanding himself fairly soon. But Sero's actually going to start mining from it before the Nexus has even started.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Sero's follow-up is here. He's got some options now. He could just go ahead and secure third base, or he could go up to a bunch of factories and go for a push. Because Unco still has not taken that natural. He's just continued to produce Dragoons off his 2 gateways and a couple of Zealots now. Just getting that first observer out now to clear out any remaining mines outside of his base here.
Yep, so he is now in a position to start taking map control back. But you know, that's bought Sero plenty of time. I'd be a little bit concerned just about the way that everything is positioned here. You know, those tanks are just sitting there in front of the command center. Sero now floating his racks up ahead, and a third tank coming to meet up. So, you know, I think he is safe. But this is still a breakable position, especially if shuttles come into play. This is not really the easiest choke to defend as a Terran.
And just as you were saying it, we do have a shuttle out now. It looks like he's going to load up a few Zealots and maybe is going to try to bust this position here. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
if he can make it work, for sure.
Turret's coming down at a really nice timing. So this is going to help deny the observer from coming in, also going to deny the shuttle from bulldogging his way in. And Unco is seeing what he can get done, just clearing as many mines as he can before he can get into siege tank range. 4 tanks here versus 6 goons. There's zero chance those goons are doing anything. But I think the Bulldog could potentially be effective. Where is that shuttle? There it is.
It's just over the natural off to see where the control is.
Oh,
If
the
he can
mines
drag
could
some of those
drag.
mines.
Oh no, it's not going to get a mine hit. He's going to try now.
Oh,
He's
he is
actually-
gonna.
Oh my god! Tons of
Oh.
damage on those tanks, forcing the unsiege as well. Goons running forward. The siege is going to come in, but the goons are right on top of them.
The SCVs are doing a nice job blocking the Dragoons, and he is gonna clean this up and push Unco back.
Wow, that was close. These 2 tanks are so hurt. That one mine.
10 health on that one. Oh.
Unco with the
Yeah.
presence of mind to go for that drag. Really, really nice moves. Both of these guys showing really, really strong control. But I think that Sero, as long as he can hold off these reinforcements, which it looks like he can, will be in a really good position here coming into the mid game.
Yeah. Well, he's had his expo up for a lot longer and's been mining from it now, getting that second gas. Where Unco is just starting to mine now. He knew he kind of had to do some damage with taking so much from the FD and Sero getting ahead that way. He knew he's like, okay, I got to do some kind of either economic damage or just kill the Terran or something because he knows he's behind right now, having got his Nexus so much later than Sero's command center.
Yeah, it was definitely the correct read, the correct move. Unfortunately for him, it didn't pay off. He didn't get the damage he needed. So that puts Sero even farther ahead, I think. You know, losing that shuttle and really, I mean, he traded a couple of tanks, but he didn't nearly kill the tank count as much as he needed to. So we're sitting in a situation now where Unco's looking poised to take a third, but by the time that really kicks in, Sero is going to be across the map with a very scary army.
Yeah, we do see Sero going up to those 5 factories now. So he's going to be looking to put on a big mid-game push here. Strong push out of these 5 factories. He's just going to get a bunch of units, and with Unco taking this 3rd Nexus, he's not really going to have enough units to defend. Like, he's still on 3 gateways, where he sees Sero going up to 5 factories. So I'm a little bit worried for him. Like, once those 5 factories kick in, I think Sero's going to be able to walk across the map and do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think this Nexus is a little bit, I don't know what the word is, a little risky. You know, he has that observer poised right on top of the factories. He sees the factory count. He has to know that that push is coming at a pretty hard time for him to hold. So going for this expansion right now rather than more gates, I think might be a mistake. He does have that Stargate coming out. Fleet Beacon, actually. I was expecting Arbiter Tech, but it is going to be Carrier. So, you know, if he can get away with the first 2 or 4 carriers coming out and unscouted, he could potentially fend off that push if Sero shows up with 0 anti-air.
Yeah, and the problem is I don't think he's going to have those carriers out near in time to defend this push. Like, I would expect Sero to move out any time here now.
Yeah,
he's going to wait for maybe one more round of units, and I think he's going to go.
I would agree that he definitely should. You know, it's going to be up to Sero, and he actually is going to scout right on top. He's going to see the Fleet Beacon, he's going to see the Stargates, and if that's not the key to move out, I don't know what is. So there we go. He is starting to push out, clearing those mines right away, and there's barely any goons here. Unco needs to save every unit that he can.
Yeah, losing that first Dragoon, I don't know if he's going to have enough to defend this. He does have a shuttle out, which could possibly help, especially if Sero sieges up, but he doesn't even need to at the moment. He's just picking up Dragoons, laying some mines. If he gets a couple of these mine hits off too, it's going to be really bad.
Yeah, the
So-
shuttle's going to come in, but there's no siege needed, and the shuttle
Yeah.
really loses effectiveness. Going for a mine drag, actually knowing where the mines are. Oh, that mine could be really, really bad, actually.
Oh!
Sero targets it as well, so that really good control from both these players.
Yeah,
very,
both these players
very aware of all of the mines the whole game.
Yeah. Both these players showing why they're coaches in the league, doing these little things, like playing very aware of what each race's weakness may be, or something they could do to get back into the game or not lose the game right away. But as it is, Sero's just going to push up here, he's going to siege up, and he's going to just pin Unco into his base again, and there's not much he's going to be able to do.
I really love this pushing style from Sero. We've seen it both games, both game 2 and this game, where he's extremely aggressive, you know, gets into almost at the choke point, and then sieges up right before Protoss is in that do or die mode, where they could engage on you and you get a late siege and are unable to hold your position. And it really just puts Protoss in such an awkward position, because the siege tank range for these initial tanks is like basically right here on the cliff.
Yeah.
And there's not much that Unco can do about that. So this is such methodical pushing. I love to see it. The first carrier is out, but it doesn't have interceptors just yet, and I
Trying to
expect to
drop
see
probes.
some Goliaths coming up. Were those probes in the shuttle?
Yeah, he loaded up probes in the shuttle, just trying to get tanks to splash. He knows he's got to break this push or he's done for.
Yeah,
He's
that's
just bringing everything he can to try and break it.
That is some desperation mode, and especially when you go carrier, the effectiveness of shuttles drops way down because the anti-air is going to be there. So he knew he had to do something right away. I love this that he's actually Sero's splitting off a couple of units, going to take out that third as well, killing a ton of probes, and I really don't think there's much Unco can do. One carrier is not going to cut it.
Yeah, it honestly looks like it's then he's going to lose his natural nexus here. He's going to lose that third nexus. And he's got basically no units, certainly not enough to fight this off. And the one carrier isn't going to be enough damage output to just kill all this off and stop any reinforcements from coming in.
Yeah, both bases not going down. So even if somehow Unco manages to clear this out, he's barely mining. He's going to have to create a nexus before he can effectively mine from even a single base. So Sero has this almost in the bag at this point.
And some vultures just to kind of help seal the deal, getting behind that probe line, killing all the probes in the main here.
Yeah, so even if he gets that nexus rebuilt, oh my god, there's a mine in
Oh,
the mineral line as well.
Mine kills a bunch of probes.
That was the mine
man.
game. My goodness. Wow, what a great series. You know, I hadn't seen
I
him
was
play
impressed.
too much, but he definitely impressed me, and Sero, you know, definitely played really, really well for all games. Great 2-1 result, and honestly, it was a really close series.
Yeah, like I said, I was impressed with both players there. Very well played. Very good game so far.